Watch your favorite Net25 shows on OSN Channel 725, same day as the Philippines.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
Tips time with Kat and Ken. Let's be productive. Here are ways that we can do to be productive and not waste our time. Help in household chores. Even young kids like Kat and Ken can help at home. We can help sweep the floor, wipe the tables, make the bed, or wash the dishes. Make a schedule. A schedule is a checklist of things that you need to do in a day. Don't make a long list of to-dos that you won't be able to accomplish. Make sure to have difficult and easy tasks. You may do the easy ones first so as to save time and effort. After that, you'll have more energy to do the difficult tasks. Learn to prioritize. Priority means something that is more important than the other. Put your priorities on top of your list so that you'll remember to do them first. This way, you'll focus more on what's important and what you should do first in a day. Set a time limit in using gadgets. On days that you don't have school like weekends or holidays, better to still have a limit on using cell phones and computer. There would always be other things that you can do rather than spending the whole day watching videos or playing games. Eat healthy food and have enough rest. A healthy body is always equal to a healthy brain. If our body is well rested, our brain will function well too. If our brain functions well, we would be more productive.
We live in interesting times.
For the headlines,
Hong Kong's deeply unpopular leader vows to listen humbly to voters after the pro-democracy camp scores a crushing victory in community-level elections.
Hong Kong analyst and former political science professor Joseph Yu Shek-Cheng said the community's dissatisfaction and anger will continue to grow, leading to the maintenance of a long-term non-cooperation campaign.
Philippine Vice President Leni Robredo challenges Rodrigo Duterte's government a day after being fired as the president's drug czar saying she is just getting started.
In Vancouver, a free concert of Iglesia Ni Cristo musicians showcasing their talent and love for music.
I'm Sam Sabeta, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Don Orozco.
And now to the news. Hong Kong's unpopular leader Carrie Lam said her government would listen humbly to the public after voters dealt a humiliating election setback to the Beijing-backed establishment she heads. Hong Kong's pro-democracy camp scored a crushing victory in community-level elections held on Sunday, a result that made clear the level of public support for the demands of protest movement that has thrown the territory into turmoil. In a rout that stunned the semi-autonomous Chinese territory, candidates favoring greater democracy seized an overwhelming majority of the 452 seats in the city's 18 district councils. The protest movement has several key demands, including direct popular elections and a probe into alleged police brutality, and the result may bring new pressure on Lam to meet them. Hong Kong Chief Carrie Lam has previously rejected the demands as wishful thinking and repeatedly suggested the ballot would show most Hong Kongers supported her administration and an end to the protests. Now, Mrs. Lam said the government respects the election results. She also acknowledged that the result has sparked discussion of the fact citizens are dissatisfied with the current social situation and deep-seated problems without going into details. Activist Joshua Wong says the result is a remarkable achievement.
The district council.
District council election is already the de facto referendum to prove how Hong Kong people deserve free election, when more than 70 or almost 80% of people vote in the election. Why can't Hong Kong people get back the right to elect our government? We are not satisfied with only elect the district councillors. Remarkable achievement in the district council election is the efforts of all Hong Kongers, especially voters, protesters, or hardline frontliners that pay the price, spend the time, or even sacrifice in the protest movement.
Hong Kongers feel satisfied after the pro-democracy camp scored a crushing victory in community-level elections that revealed broad public support for a protest movement that has sparked months of violence, but some says it's only a start, and that the future of the city will depend on the government's response.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a start from everything, to be honest. Like, for the future, like for the protester, if it goes well and if the government replied well, then I think the protests will just go down like peacefully. Otherwise, it's just gonna go up. Like, it all depends on how the government gonna reply.
Some would believe that we have won the election, the people have won, but I don't think this is what we really wanted ultimately. What we wanted is the good laws to be enforced, and the law enforcers should be really doing the job rather than just standing on the opposite side of the people. I think this is a very good example to demonstrate how democracy is important to the people, because the high rate of voting yesterday have shown a very encouraging message to everybody else and to the world. It is time that people believe that they need a change, and they finally admit it. So the change is just started. It's still there's still a long way to go.
Cabinet member and pro-Beijing lawmaker Regina Ip is heckled by crowds in Hong Kong's central business district and is escorted to a taxi by police. The pro-democracy camp scored a crushing victory in community-level elections that revealed broad public support for a protest movement that has sparked months of violence.
Hong Kong analyst and former political science professor Joseph Yu Shek Cheng said the community's dissatisfaction and anger will continue to grow, leading to the maintenance of a long-term non-cooperation campaign. The pro-democracy camp scored a crushing victory in community-level elections in the city after months of violence. Let's listen in.
If the government does not respond to the people's demands, obviously it cannot resolve the crisis. The elections certainly show that if you have democracy, people will use their votes to express their demands. People will change the government with the votes in their hands. And this is the very purpose of democracy. Hong Kong people have shown the world that this is the way to be done. I think Chinese leaders have to realize that almost the entire population of Hong Kong understand that independence is not a realistic option. Hong Kong people do not want to challenge Chinese authorities' sovereignty over Hong Kong nor state security. They want to be left alone at the very minimum, and they want their dignity, their basic human rights, their freedom, their rule of law be respected and upheld. But there is obviously an attempt on the part of the Chinese leadership to present Hong Kong people's demands as advocacy of independence, and therefore it deserves a crackdown. The community's dissatisfaction and anger will continue to grow, leading to the maintenance of a long-term non-cooperation campaign. Now this is going to be a very sad scenario for Hong Kong. It means that a lot of people in Hong Kong do not see the light at the end of the tunnel, and they do not see serious prospects of a return to normalcy. Monday morning, Carrie Lam indicated only that she will listen to the voice of the people, she will carefully study their demands, which are certainly empty words in the eyes of Hong Kong people.
China said it supports Hong Kong's embattled leader Carrie Lam after the pro-democracy camp scored a crushing victory in community-level elections in the city after months of violence. The result was a rebuke to Beijing and Mrs. Lam, who has dismissed calls for political reform and had repeatedly suggested that a silent majority supported her administration and opposed the protest movement.
你应该知道，我们的立场很明确，就是中国中央政府坚定支持林郑月娥行政长官带领特区政府依法施政，坚定支持特区的警方止暴制乱、恢复秩序，也坚定支持香港的司法机关依法惩处有关的暴力犯罪行为。
Although the elections handled local concerns such as bus routes and garbage collection, the result has been seen as voters giving the territory's China-controlled administration a bloody nose after months of increasingly violent clashes between protesters and police. Geng said the government also supported the police and judiciary in Hong Kong in punishing relevant violent and illegal behaviors. Mrs. Lam said earlier that her government would listen humbly to the public. Candidates favoring greater democracy seized an overwhelming majority of the 452 seats in the city's 18 district councils.
Meantime, President Rodrigo Duterte has fired Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo as co-chairperson of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdia on Sunday confirmed Duterte's decision to axe Robredo as drug czar. Yes, Medialdia said in a text message when asked if Robredo was sacked as head of ICAD. The president booted Robredo out of ICAD after his recent warning that he would fire the vice president in case she discloses confidential drug war records. It also came a day after the president's revelation that he was not satisfied with Robredo's performance as drug czar. Robredo was supposed to help her ICAD co-chair Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency's Director General Aaron Aquino in addressing the drug menace in the country until June 30 of 2022. Robredo was appointed by Duterte as ICAD co-chair on October 31 following her claims that the current administration's drug war is absolutely not working. Duterte initially wanted Robredo to hold a cabinet rank as ICAD co-chair, but later on changed his mind for fear that the vice president might reveal classified matters about the government's anti-narcotics campaign. The chief executive admitted on Saturday that he can never trust Robredo when it comes to keeping the drug war records a secret. He made the admission as he acknowledged that Robredo leads the opposition and seeks foreign entities' advice to improve the Philippines' war on illegal drugs.
Meanwhile, Philippine Vice President Leni Robredo challenges Rodrigo Duterte government a day after Beijing fired as the president's drug czar, saying she is just getting started.
Makakaasa kayo, kahit tinanggalan ako ng posisyon, hindi nila kayang tanggalin ang aking determinasyon. Determinasyong itigil ang patayan, panagutin ang kailangan managot, at ipanalo ang kampanya laban sa iligal na droga. Kung sa tingin nila matatapos ito dito, hindi nila ako kilala. Nagsisimula pa lamang ako.
The president is responding to the suggestion.
VP Robredo held the post for 19 days. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said Robredo's decision to talk with representatives from the United Nations and the United States did not sit well with the president. Malacanang accused Robredo of politicizing the drug war and detrimentally undermining government efforts to end the illegal narcotics trade.
May interes ba tayong nabangga? Ano ba ang kinatatakutan ninyong malaman ko? Ano ba ang kinatatakutan ninyong malaman ng taong bayan?
Meanwhile, Vice President Maria Leonor Leni Robredo wasted the opportunity to work with the Duterte administration in improving the crackdown on illegal drugs, Malacanang said on Sunday night.
The president is responding to the suggestion.
Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo confirmed that President Rodrigo Duterte fired Robredo as co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. due to several reasons, including the latter's dare to Duterte to just tell her if he wants her out.
It's the VP Lenny herself asking the president to fire her. Don't forget that. If you were the appointing power, how would you receive that kind of dare and taunt?
He also said Duterte's decision to fire Robredo came after Liberal Party President and Senator Francis Pangilinan asked Duterte to fire the Vice President as drug czar if he did not completely trust her. However, he said it was Robredo's missteps such as meeting with foreign entities, seeking classified information, and failing to present new solutions to stop the illegal drug trade were the main reasons that led to her sacking. Panelo explained that the drug czar post was an offer to make the campaign against illegal drugs better, a chance where both the administration and the political opposition could have worked together.
The offer was very sincere, giving her the opportunity to help in the campaign, because she's been criticizing it. That is why precisely she was given such appointment, so she would be given the chance to assist in the campaigns against illegal drugs. It was a rare opportunity for an opposition leader to be included in the administration. Basta sinabi ni President, I'm firing her. Sabi ko, when? Mr. President, now.
On November 20, Robredo advised the president to tell her directly if he wanted her out of the government's campaign against illegal drugs. Duterte initially wanted Robredo to hold a cabinet rank as he could co-chair, but changed his mind for fear that the vice president might reveal classified information about the government's anti-narcotics campaign.
Philippine soldiers on Monday rescued a British man and his wife from Islamic State-linked jihadists nearly 2 months after the couple were kidnapped from their beach resort in the nation's south, authorities said. Troops recovered the pair after a firefight with gunmen from the Abu Sayyaf group on the restive southern island of Jolo, which is a stronghold of the kidnap for ransom gang that has been behind some of the worst attacks in the Philippines. Lieutenant General Cirilito Sobihana told AFP that there was a brief exchange of fire, but they later abandoned the couple after being overwhelmed by pursuing government forces. Regional Army spokesman Arvin Encina said no ransom was paid. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab confirmed the rescue of the couple, saying both Alan and Wilma Hirons are safe and well and being looked after by the Philippine authorities. Armed men abducted the couple on October 4 at their beach resort in the southern island of Mindanao, which makes up the southern third of the Philippines.
Supporters of the Hezbollah and Amal movements attacked Lebanese anti-government protesters in Beirut on Monday, with army reinforcements intervening to defuse tensions. Shortly before midnight on Sunday, men on foot and scooters arrived at a roadblock set up by anti-graft protesters across a key street in the capital, local television showed. They shouted insults and chanted in support of the chiefs of the Shiite movements, Hezbollah and Amal, before briefly breaking through and attacking some demonstrators. Those at the roadblock chanted, "Peaceful, peaceful," as the security forces and army reinforcements deployed in a thick line between both sides in the early hours of Monday morning. The counter-protests also headed to a main nerve center of protest nearby and destroyed tents there, a local television channel said. The tension came after a peaceful day of demonstrations more than a month into a spontaneous nationwide street movement against the political elite. The ongoing anti-government protest, which started on October 17 and led Prime Minister Saad Hariri to resign, are considered to be the largest public mobilization the country has seen since 2015.
Thousands rallied in Paris on Saturday to seek an end to gender violence and femicide in a country where at least 116 women have been killed by current or former partners this year, sparking national outrage. The march began near the French capital's main opera house, with several protesters holding up placards bearing the image of a relative or friend killed in gender violence. About 30 marches have been organized throughout France. They involve nearly 70 organizations, political parties, unions, and associations. The government is expected to announce about 40 measures on Monday to tackle the scourge. A total of 116 women have been murdered in France so far this year by their husband, partner, or ex-partner, according to an AFP investigation. The group Femicides by companions or ex, meanwhile, puts the toll at 137. The killings in France are part of a global scourge that shows no signs of abating, with 87,000 women and girls killed in 2017. According to the UN, over half of them killed either by their spouse, partner, or own family.
While police forces are often criticized in cases of domestic violence, Karine Lejeune, a gendarmerie colonel, has been engaged for more than 15 years against this type of violence. Since 2003, she has been providing training for gendarmes on violence against women, and in 2005, she joined the victims delegation and worked more particularly on violent deaths within couples.
Les enfants, parce qu'en général, la plupart des femmes qui, sans être violentes bien entendu, mais ne pratiquent pas nécessairement ou ne.
D'accord. C'est en 2007 que l'on a pu éditer cette première étude, qui a été la première étude en France, qui avait révélé ce chiffre, qui a été un choc. Une femme décède tous les 3 jours sous les coups ou sous la violence de son compagnon, ex-compagnon, conjoint ou concubin. Il y a eu énormément de dispositifs législatifs qui permettent, notamment aux forces de sécurité intérieure, police, gendarmerie, d'intervenir, d'investiguer de façon beaucoup plus profonde, d'accompagner avec des dispositifs particuliers les victimes de violences conjugales. Et pour autant, il y a un chiffre que nous n'arrivons pas à faire baisser, ce sont ces homicides conjugaux ou ces féminicides. Nous avons donc les jeunes gendarmes maintenant, avant d'arriver en unité, qui sont sensibilisés à cette thématique pour comprendre ce qu'est les phénomènes d'emprise, le cycle de la violence, la psychologie de la victime, la stratégie de l'agresseur. On sait qu'en moyenne, à peine 10 à 15% des victimes de violences conjugales font une démarche auprès des forces de police ou de gendarmerie. Donc, plus de procédures, plus de dénonciations, plus de plaintes, c'est plus de victimes qui brisent la loi du silence et qui font la démarche pour obtenir réparation et puis pour obtenir une certaine liberté et une reconnaissance de leur statut de victime.
Israel is set to become the first democracy to expel a Human Rights Watch employee, its executive director Ken Ross said, denouncing the upcoming deportation of one of his staffers. U.S. citizen Omar Shakir, the New York-based rights group's director for Israel and the Palestinian territories, is to be deported from Israel on Monday over his alleged support of a boycott of the country. The expulsion upheld by the Supreme Court would make Shakir the first person to be expelled from the country under a controversial 2017 law allowing the deportation of foreigners who support a boycott of Israel, according to authorities.
Look, neither Human Rights Watch nor I, as its representative, have ever called for a boycott of Israel. We've never called for a consumer boycott. We've never called for an academic boycott. We've never called to boycott any company. We call on businesses, like we call on governments, to refrain from contributing to rights abuse. It's the most basic form of human rights advocacy. At the same time, we believe in the right to free expression, including the right of all people to speak for or against a call for a boycott, as part because the world has failed to really make Israel pay the cost of continuing impunity and rights abuse. Until there is accountability for the underlying rights abuse, until the International Criminal Court opens a formal investigation, looks at Israeli and Palestinian rights abuses, until the United Nations publishes its database of businesses that operate in settlements, an important layer of transparency over companies complicit in rights abuse, we're only going to see the status quo of institutional discrimination and systematic abuse continue.
Shakir has been fighting a lengthy legal campaign against expulsion, but earlier this month, Israel's Supreme Court upheld the government's decision to deport him. Israel accuses him of being a supporter of the banned boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which calls for a broad-ranging boycott of Israel over its treatment of the Palestinians. Israel sees the movement as a strategic threat and accuses it of anti-Semitism, a claim activists strongly deny. Supporters compare it to the economic isolation that helped bring down apartheid South Africa.
I mean, to be honest, I cannot think of another democracy that has borrowed a Human Rights Watch researcher. Obviously, there are governments that pretend that they're democracies, but we all know what's going on there. So Venezuela, Egypt, Iran borrow our researchers. Some places like North Korea, it's impossible even to get in. China makes it very difficult to operate there. But frankly, this is really about the government. The government is driving this forward. It pushed the law through. It chose to interpret the law in a very expansive way to apply, not for a call to support BDS, but rather for mainstream human rights advocacy for corporations to avoid complicity in the illegality of the settlements. I think that, it demonstrates the increasingly constrained nature of Israeli democracy. Yes, elections are held. Yes, there's a free press. But when it comes to spotlighting the human rights violations at the heart of the oppressive, discriminatory occupation, the Israeli government is trying to cut that off as much as it can.
Who's a French speaker? No, because we are covering it.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Huli na MTRCV.
Net25 is now available on ASEAN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa. Watch your favorite Net25 shows on OSN, channel 725, same day as the Philippines. Net25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere, or any mobile device on OSN Play.
President Rodrigo Duterte arrived in Busan early Monday, November 25, to attend the ASEAN-Republic of Korea commemorative summit. The plane carrying the president landed in Ginhai Airport at 1:28 a.m. Duterte was accompanied by his official delegation, including Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr., Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez, Agriculture Secretary William Dar, and Education Secretary Leonor Briones. Also included in the delegation were Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat, and National Economic Development Authority Secretary Ernesto Pernia. Panelo and Communications Secretary Martin Andanar went ahead to Korea before the President. The President will stay until tomorrow in Korea.
Exploring new partnerships and cooperation will be among President Rodrigo Duterte's main goals in his second visit to South Korea to attend a summit there, Malacanang said on Monday. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the summit will be a venue for the President to discuss with other regional leaders ways to address new world challenges such as protectionism, non-conventional security threats, transnational crimes, and cybercrime, among others. Duterte will also hold bilateral talks with the South Korean President Moon Jae-in, he added. He added that Duterte's second visit to the East Asian nation will also strengthen the 70-year relations between the two countries. According to Panelo, President Duterte arrived safely in Busan, South Korea on Monday morning to begin the first day of the summit and other related special events and activities.
Philippine Ambassador to Korea Noe Albano Wong on Sunday said the Philippine government may push for visa-free entry of Filipinos to South Korea anew. In a press briefing, Wong said visa-free entry for Filipinos into South Korea may be one of the topics to be raised at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Republic of Korea commemorative summit on November 25 and 26. Wong said Koreans do not need a visa when staying in the Philippines for 30 days or less, but Filipinos need one when visiting Korea. He vowed to simplify the process by which Filipinos get visas to go to South Korea. He explained that there have been Filipino tourists complaining about the length of time it takes for them to get a visa from the Korean embassy, ranging from 50 to 45 days. In a separate press conference, South Korean ambassador to the Philippines, Han Dong-man, expressed hope that there would be a visa-free policy between the Philippines and Korea as soon as the problem with about 15,000 Filipinos illegally entering Korea is resolved.
With hope, in the near future, we can have a free visa policy between Korea and the Philippines. But so far, there are certain numbers of illegal Filipinos in Korea. That's why our basic policy is that if we witness the drastic decrease of illegal people, naturally you can have a free visa policy. But still, there are many illegal people. So, approximately 15,000.
The South Korean envoy said there are at least 93,000 Koreans living in the Philippines, while 58,000 Filipinos are in Korea. The envoy also bared that Koreans are enjoying Filipino culture just as much as Filipinos appreciate Korean culture in the form of K-drama, K-pop, food, cosmetics, and the like. He described the cultural exchange between the Philippines and South Korea as blooming.
In conclusion, the visit of President Duterte to Busan will be a very wonderful occasion to expand our cooperation in many different sectors. So Korea, as a very close ally and a very close partner of the Philippines, will remain as a true friend to work together. Because there is a Korean saying, a friend in need is a friend indeed.
LVMH and U.S. jewelers Tiffany announced Monday a $16.2 billion tie-up. That is the French luxury group's biggest ever acquisition and will bolster its presence in the United States. The deal comes after LVMH spent more than a month wooing Tiffany, the most iconic of U.S. luxury brands known for its wedding rings and diamonds. The deal adds Tiffany to LVMH's extensive stable of luxury brands that include Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Moët Chandon, and will strengthen its position in the jewelry sector. Tiffany, founded in 1837 and headquartered on glamorous Fifth Avenue in New York next to Trump Tower, is the most iconic of U.S. luxury brands, an image reflected in The Breakfast at Tiffany's novella by Truman Capote, made into a film with Audrey Hepburn in 1961. The addition of Tiffany to LVMH's jewelry holdings that already includes Bulgari, Chaumet, Tag Heuer, and Hublot will help in its rivalry with Swiss-based Richemont, which holds Cartier among other brands, as well as lift LVMH's stature in the important American market.
Meantime, London's Transport Authority on Monday refused to renew an operating license for the ride-hailing giant Uber because of safety and security concerns. The rejection is the latest setback to the firm's operations in London, which have been targeted by protests from traditional black cab drivers to previous license suspensions. In September, Uber was granted a 2-month extension to its license following the expiry of a previous 15-month agreement. The extension was conditional on passenger safety improvements. But TfL said on Monday there were a pattern of failures, including the use of unauthorized drivers on other drivers' accounts, allowing them to pick up passengers. The Transport Authority said this happened at least 14,000 times, endangering users as it invalidated insurance. Some trips took place with unlicensed, suspended, or dismissed drivers.
In the business of show business, Disney's new release Frozen 2 iced out competitors to top North American box offices over the weekend, taking in an estimated $127 million, Industry Watcher Exhibitor Relations said Sunday. The film follows the beloved characters from 2013 hit Frozen as they travel to an ancient autumn-bound forest in search of the origin of Queen Elsa's magical ice powers. Frozen 2, which has come out just in time for the winter holidays, set a November record for an animated movie and secured the third best start for an animated film behind fellow Disney titles Incredibles 2 and Finding Dory, according to Variety.
You can't just follow me into fire. Then don't run into fire.
We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Soccer, the world's favorite sport. And it's no wonder. spectacular goals, and plenty of emotion. The best of game day. Kickoff.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Greenhouse gases levels in the atmosphere, the main driver of climate change, hit a record high last year, the UN said Monday, calling for action to safeguard the future welfare of mankind. That increase was just above the annual average increase over over the past decade. Concentrations of the other two main greenhouse gases, methane and nitrous oxide, also hit record levels in 2018, WMO said. WMO said this continuing long-term trend means that future generations will be confronted with increasingly severe impacts of climate change, including rising temperatures, more extreme weather, water stress, sea level rise, and disruption to marine and land ecosystems. Emissions are the main factor that determine the amount of greenhouse gas levels, but concentration rates are a measure of what remains after a series of complex interactions between atmosphere, biosphere, lithosphere, cryosphere, and the oceans. Roughly 25% of all emissions are currently absorbed by the oceans and biosphere, a term that accounts for all ecosystems on Earth.
Here we have a carbon dioxide graph showing that we have again broken records in carbon dioxide concentrations, and we have already exceeded the 400 ppm level, which was regarded as a critical level. That happened already 2 years ago, and this growth of carbon dioxide concentration continues, and last year's increase was about the same as we have been observing during the past 10 years.
A measles epidemic in Samoa has now claimed 25 lives, with children bearing the brunt on the deadly outbreak, official data and the Pacific Island nation showed Monday. The government said they had registered 2,194 cases of the disease in a population of about 200,000, with more than half those affected aged under 4 years old. All of the recorded deaths, barring a 37-year-old man, have been toddlers and the same age group. Officials have declared a state of emergency and said a compulsory immunization program was making progress, with more than 17,000 people vaccinated in the past 5 days. The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, has sent more than 110 doses of measles vaccine, and medical teams from Australia and New Zealand are helping administer them to the population of about 200,000. Tonga and Fiji have also experienced outbreaks, but Samoa has been hit hardest due to low vaccination rates, estimated at 28 to 40%. The country's immunization program was briefly suspended last year when 2 babies died shortly after being given the measles vaccine. Investigations revealed that hampered nurses had accidentally given the infants the wrong medication, but the deaths left a legacy of distrust that hampered immunization efforts. The government this month made vaccination mandatory, and with children and non-pregnant women the priority groups. Schools and kindergartens have been closed and children banned from public gatherings such as church services in a bid to contain the outbreak. Aside from the devastating human cost of the epidemic, the Samoa Tourism Authority, or STA, expressed concern it could hurt the country's economy by discouraging visitors.
Meanwhile, in sports, the organizing committee of the 2019 Southeast Asian or SEA Games should ensure that other arriving athletes are not inconvenienced or they will be held accountable, Malacanang said. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this warning after some international football teams aired concerns over logistics upon arriving in the country for their respective competitions. The football teams of Myanmar, Timor-Leste, Cambodia, and Thailand vented frustrations over issues concerning transportation, lodging, and training upon their arrival in Manila. Panelo said no heads will roll in the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee, but a repeat of the mistakes will be dealt with accordingly.
I'm sure they will do better the next succeeding arrival of the other countries' delegates and athletes.
If not,
dapat kasi kung baga, you will learn from your mistakes.
So if not?
If not, siguro kailangan accountable sila doon. Pero I don't think so.
Meanwhile, Panelo apologized anew for the seemingly ill preparedness of this year's SEA Games, but explained that these logistical problems were unintentional. Despite logistical problems, Panelo said there were no reports of any incident jeopardizing the athlete's safety and health. The palace official, meanwhile, offered suggestions to the PSGOC to avoid repeat of blunders. Panelo assured that the organizers would do better next time. Earlier, the PSGOC acknowledged the mistakes and apologized for the inconvenience the athletes had experienced. PSGOC, led by House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, vowed to do better by ensuring proper coordination of the arrival details, airport welcome, and transportation provisions of all international teams to their respective assigned hotels.
You don't have to be from New York or even the United States to be a Harlem Globetrotter. Yet in the team's 93-year history, less than 24 players have been born overseas. UN News learned during an impromptu visit by the legendary basketball role models to UN headquarters this week. Take a look. They announced the signing of a player from Poland and another one from China, a first in the 93-year history of the Harlem Globetrotters. Torch George, who in 2018 made Globetrotter history when she became the first of the team's female stars to own her own Guinness World Record title, said,
I'm only 5'3", you know, people would always tell me I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, but I always believe in myself and just work hard and dedication. You can do and be whatever you want to be.
Big Easy Lofton, who was a Harlem Globetrotters, has visited over 90 countries and all 50 states in the U.S. said this.
There's a few sports where you are individual, but most of them you're together. You have to work with others, and it doesn't matter where the other person comes from. Your common goal is to win that game, and I think that's a part of life, and that's a lot of lessons you can learn from sports, and myself included have done.
And 6'9" Hammer Harrison from Brooklyn said this.
Harlem Globetrotters, what we like to do is bridge cultures together. You know, we take basketball around the world and we're always playing in different nations, different cultures, and we just want to share the love for basketball and sports with everybody.
Lucky, the first ever Chinese Globetrotters team member said,
幸亏我把太极和篮球结合到一起，才开启了世界巡演的这个大门，去了很多的国家，也很幸运，就像我名字也很幸运，最后能和李连杰老师同台一起表演太极篮球，所以都是不放弃能给我带来的好运吧。
Over the course of the team's history, the Globetrotters have played in 124 countries and territories around the world.
In Vancouver, a free concert of Iglesia Ni Cristo musicians showcasing their talent and love for music. Here's Arnie Aquino reporting from the scene.
For one night only, here at the Michael J. Fox Theater, local musicians will showcase their talents to an eagerly awaiting crowd. The event was organized by members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, for visitors to enjoy the songs of faith that they put together. When asked why they decided to perform for this event, this is what the musicians had to say.
Pakita daw yung talent. Ako po yun. Para makapakita namin yung hilig namin sa musika. Yung unang kanta, I Will Serve. Para sa Diyos, para sa Ama. Tsaka, ibig sabihin ng kanta ay kahit anong mangyari, mang pagsubok, patuloy pa rin kaming
Ano po yun ulit?
maninindigan po kami sa aming kahalalan. Make everything right. Ano po siya parang isang panalangin ng paghingi ng tawad sa Ama. Kaya para po yun sa lahat ng kapatid na nandito na yun nga, napakinggan yung ginawa namin sa naramdaman nila yung naramdaman namin habang tinutugtog namin yung kanta.
Hindi lagi yung may gantong event kasi para sa akin, kasi tumutugtog din ako. Bilang musician, lengguwahe kasi music and it's just another medium para ma-relay mo yung message mo sa iba. Kaya maganda pakinggan na may mga iba't ibang kapatid na may mga talento sa music at na nagagamit namin yun bilang medium para ma-relay yung messages namin.
Ito'y napaka magandang pagkakataon, lalong-lalo na sa mga kapatid natin na mahilig sa musika. At ganun din po ay magkaroon sila ng inspirasyon, hindi lang kagaya ng tula. Hindi na sa pagtula, itatranslate natin, lalagyan ng musika at ialay po natin sa Panginoong Diyos para maging inspirasyon po ito, hindi lang sa mga kapatid natin sa iglesia, kundi sa lahat ng tao sa buong mundo na mayroon talagang tunay na pagliligtas sa araw ng paghuhukom.
Event host Paul Olegato tells us why this event was organized.
This was organized and put together because there are a lot of brethren that do want to perform, and there's lots of talent in the church. And this was a venue for them to show their talent, and not only just to show their talent to other people, but to also praise God. So it's a wonderful opportunity to do that.
Iglesia Ni Cristo minister Brother Edgar Allen Hale shares what he hopes guests would take away from this event.
we are hoping that the guests, not only that they would attend this kind of gathering, but they would continue to listen to the words of God being upheld by the church, because that is truly the very meaning of this, to share our faith in music, but most of all that they would know about the true Church of Christ.
From Vancouver, my name is Arnie Aquino, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Arnie. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out the boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Don Orozco.
And
we are one with 25.